Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and this here is the Lifeboat. How are you? Hope you had a excellent weekend. I hope you got copious amounts of rest, and that you can put the Thanksgiving holiday in the rearview mirror and start stressing out about all of the things that you have to buy for the next holiday. Time to hang lights and act like a Griswold. It's Monday morning here on the boat. I mention that because years from now, no one will know what day I recorded this. And this is a big one, right? Because it's a Monday. And we do these 52 times a year, and we complain about them 52 times a year. Nobody likes them. Mondays suck, don't they? The weekend's over. You got to go back to work. You got to show up, right? You got to put a face on, and you got to pretend you're happy to be there, right? All of those things. Everybody, at least in our country, hates Mondays. Johnny's not a fan. I got sober on a Monday. It was one of those serendipity things in life, but I got stabbed on a Sunday, so there was no dope on Monday. There was plenty on the day that I got stabbed, and they gave me more at the hospital. But the following morning was a Monday, and I remember not being able to journal because I didn't have any paper, anything that I could use. So I complained until I was given a pencil that was 3 inches long. Right? It's about how long the prison pencils are. And believe it or not, they move. What I mean by that is they're not solid enough that you can stab someone with one. They actually bend. So they're like these safety pencils. They're impossible to write with. But I got and then I said I wanted a BP 8 through 12 because I was going to file on the federal government, and I used the back of those BPs, which come in, like a BP 12 is filed with 6 carbon copies, right? So I had all these papers that I could write on, and I started to start what would become my journaling process. But the first thing I wrote at the top was just another effing Monday. I spelled out effing, and it wasn't just another effing Monday. But that's what I wrote at the top of the piece of paper. And I think that in a way, all of us do that 52 times a year. We might not get out the pen, and we might not whip out the piece of paper and not write, this is just another Monday. But I think a lot of us do it 52 times a year. And I know that there are people listening to me right now with a hangover, or there are people listening to me right now that did a bunch of blow last night, and they're getting up on 2 hours of sleep and having to go to work so that they can make more money, so that they can buy more Coke, right? So they can make more money. You know the drill. But there are people who are listening to me this Monday who are starting off just another mother-loving Monday. Don't let this be that Monday. For real. Let this be the Monday that starts every other Monday. I don't hate Mondays. I'm stoked it's Monday. Truthfully, I'm happy as hell that the weekend is over, which is funny because I work on the weekend anyway. But Mondays mean something different on the Lifeboat. They really do. They mean something completely different on the Lifeboat. You see, there's a bunch of you that don't listen to me until the weekends are over. There are a bunch of you that only catch this at work. There are a bunch of you that are getting paid to listen to me. So for those of you who are on the Monday morning work crew and not having a great Monday morning and slurping down coffee and thinking this is just another thing Monday, let this be, no cliche, let this be the first day of the rest of your life. Because I want to tell you something. When the sobriety thing happens, that's really what it is. All the cliches and all the BS and all of that, it's the first day of the rest of your life. You see, I wasn't born Tommy Scoville, right? I was born Brett. And I'm not really, I didn't, amazingly, I didn't choose a name. I didn't pick a name. I came out of prison with a name already there for me because my brother became famous as a YouTube celebrity under the name Johnny Scoville. And he talked about his little brother. He didn't say Brett. So for years, he had been telling stories of Tommy. So that when I walked out, if I was going to come on social media, I was going to come on one of two ways. I was going to come on and out my brother. Not that he was trying to tell anyone he was born a Scoville. That would have been quite a coincidence, wouldn't it? But he had a daughter of an age, and I did too. And I didn't realize the dangers of the internet. But I said, yeah, I think I'll just go with the Tommy Scoville thing. I can't tell you how fantastic it has been. Somebody recently called me and asked me. They didn't know me well, and they said, "Oh, how would you like me to refer to you?" And I thought it was a rather funny question. I prefer Tommy, and the reason that I do is Tommy's never put a needle in his arm, not once. Right? Tommy's never cheated on a woman. Tommy hasn't lied. It's a pretty cool thing. You don't have to. You don't have to do a name change because I stopped all of that crap while I was still calling myself Brett. So you don't necessarily need a name change. But you know what? Today be a day where you change who you are. Hold on one sec. Pam Abernathy says, thank you and bless you. Johnny, I started journaling at 4:30 a.m. today, made it back to church yesterday. I was physically rough. Dreams showed it. Wrote it all out in gratitude. You are, Tommy. Thank you. It means a lot to me that you got up and you did that. And you know what? You could have been going to I don't care what kind of church you're going to, by the way. It could be a synagogue, it could be a church, it could be whatever. I love the fact that you got up and got back to something that you believe in and something that is important to you. That's fantastic. That should make for a really cool Monday right there, right? Don't let this be just another effing Monday. For real. Don't. You have an opportunity. Good morning, Snot. You have an opportunity to make this epic. The 27th of June was a Monday. It was the first day I had ever been sober on this run. I had been days without dope a lot in my life. I had spent a lot of days without dope. That happens to everybody that does heroin. We can't get dope every day. We sure as hell try. And in the course of a 30-year career, there might be less than a dozen of those days that you couldn't get any dope. But on those days, all you dreamed about was a Monday morning like everybody else has, where all you had to do was get up and worry about going to work or being worried about taking care of kids or doing something that air quotes normal people did. Those days I remember distinctly waiting in parking lots for a Mexican fellow to show up and drop off enough heroin so that I could survive. And I do mean survive. I wasn't getting high, people. You stop getting high really early in the game, and you really then just get to a point where you're paying to not be sick, right? And you pay a lot of money and you spend a lot of time, but the entire point is to not be sick. And I remember many Monday mornings waiting in the car in a parking lot at a Home Depot or a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven or wherever this gentleman chose to give us an address to meet him. And Jack and I would be waiting there, and I would be looking at people, squares, pumping gas, right? Or grabbing a breakfast at McDonald's or whatever, and on their way to work. And in movies, that's where the guys look at them and say, those guys are in their metal coffins on their way to their, to their dead end rat race jobs. And I'm living. I would have done anything in the world to have been on my way to a dead end job in a coffin in rush hour traffic with a tie around my neck. I would have killed for that. I really would have. But I didn't have the ability. I didn't have the ability to make a Monday a good one. There wasn't anybody out there that I had met that could explain to me how that was possible. So watching people who were living normal lives on Monday mornings were pipe dreams. I was under the assumption that they were doing something they were born capable to do. And I was doing the only thing that I was born capable to do, which was steal things to get cash to put needles in my arms or legs or wherever. But that's truthfully and honestly. Dog's Rule says, oh God, the parking lots, days in the parking lot. I am going to assume Dog's Rule was an opiate addict. I could be wrong, but opiate addicts do spend more time in the statistic that is normally given out is that heroin addicts spend half of their life waiting for someone to deliver heroin. And I don't mean like you're doing something and the delivery guy is on the way. I mean, you are waiting, staring at your watch for the delivery guy to show up. And that's half your life. And honest to God, the part of my past that it was the most glaring is always the fact that when I pull into a parking lot, I get out of the car and I go into whatever building I'm in, and then I get back into the parking lot. Dog's Rule, that checks out. So you know Dog's Rule knows exactly what I'm talking about. The procedure goes like this. You get up in the morning and you wait because they don't start taking calls until whatever their business rules are. Most of them were 8 a.m., right? So they won't let that phone ring before 8 a.m. Every single drug addict in the city is dialing that number at 7:59, trying to be the first person to get that number in because they're already sick, right? And these people aren't selling dope. They're selling medicine. They're selling something that's going to take the sickness away. That's all they're doing, at least for us. Now, make no mistake, there are poor suckers in that group that are 2 months in who are talking about what a great high it is and such an amazing buzz and all of that crap because they don't realize what's coming. They have no idea that this ends with a type of slavery that there's no more buzz, right? There's no more any of that. That's over. And then what you're left with is parking lots and theft and lies and all of the things that go along with that lifestyle. So if you're listening to my voice, right, or you're watching me and you're sitting in a parking lot waiting on someone to deliver your dope, come on, bro. Seriously, this isn't the life you were destined for. Hear me? Nobody on this planet is destined to sit in a parking lot waiting for someone to bring them something so that they won't be sick and forcing you to pay really serious money for it. Candy's Life says, I know the parking lot routine all too well myself as a heroin junkie. Yeah. And tell me when they said, we'll be there in 10 minutes and 20 minutes go by and you're like, I'm going to call. No, I'll give them 5 more minutes and then I'm going to call. And then you give them that 5, right? And then you call them and they say, they don't even, not a response. They bark back 5 minutes and hang up. And you literally say to the person next to you, when this guy gets here, I'm killing him. Right? I said that to Jack 500 times, maybe 1,000. When this dude gets here this time, I'm taking him off of the planet. I'm not kidding you. They're telling me that, and I'm not going to lie to you. There were times where I could not be cool when they arrived, and we would have to find a new dealer. There were days that I absolutely freaked out. There was a Mother's Day where Johnny and I put a guy in the trunk because he made us wait for 3.5 hours. I'm not kidding. He spent Mother's Day locked in the trunk of an automobile. Not a story I'm proud of, but they literally kept me waiting in the part while my mom's waiting to eat Mother's Day dinner with the family. My brother and I are waiting in a parking lot for a guy who literally made us wait 1.5 hours, longer than the hour he said it would be. 2.5 hours. When I called it 2.5 hours and said, "Hey man, if you don't get here, I swear to you, I'm going to lose my mind when you do." He said, "I apologize. Honestly, I shouldn't have told you because I was eating Mother's Day dinner, but I'll be there 1 hour." He didn't get there in 1 hour, but in that 1 hour, we went home and got a gun. And the craziest thing is that when the guy pulls up, the wind was blowing like mad. And that shirt I was wearing yesterday, that flowery number, well, Johnny was wearing something like that. I mean, not exactly, but it was very loose fitting button shirt. And this was a large frame 357. It was actually a police gun. And I don't mean that it came from a cop. I mean, this is built to be a police gun. It's the largest revolver you've ever seen. The thing weighs like 1,000,000 pounds, but it is the old school, I think 27, maybe model 27 or something like that, Smith & Wesson 357 hand cannon, right? The biggest, like this big. And Johnny's got it in his waistband, like he's in a movie. And he's got the shirt hanging over, which is amazing that the waistband, that it just doesn't pull your pants to the ground because it's that kind of heavy. But as he gets out, the wind blows his shirt to just under his nipples. So literally, this beautifully crafted light wooden handle is hanging out like Yosemite Sam, right? Coming out of the holster. And the guy looks at it, like makes instant eye contact with this gun and starts shaking his head and throwing the car in reverse. And I was like, whoa. I'm trying to talk to him. I'm like, "You want to trade?" I'm like, "Trade." And you know what? He was dumb enough to believe it. And I think he was, because he was like, he gave me the look like, "There's no way I'm, nah, dude." And then he was like, "I'll give you 30, which would be roughly $200, right?" And I was like, forget it, right? Like we were going to turn around and walk away. And then he knocked on the glass and started upping it a little bit, because I'm sure he had no intention of giving this to his boss. This was probably going to be a trophy he was going to take back to Mexico himself. But, he bumped it up and said 35. And we got in that car and I just went, "Are you kidding? Like, you really let us in this car? We're going to need you to give us everything. And then we're going to need you to get in the trunk where you can spend the remainder of Mother's Day. Since I spent my Mother's Day in a Home Depot parking lot, you're going to spend the rest of yours." And we did, before anybody gets really angry at us, throw his phone in the trunk with him, which I debated hotly not doing. I'll be honest with you. I think if I had had my druthers, we would have driven off and left that man in the trunk, duct taped, bound, gagged. I was a pretty unhappy camper that day, people. I don't remember what day of the week that was. I really don't. But I know that there are Monday mornings that... What's that? Yeah, I bet he remembers. There are Monday mornings that I did freak out. And when the dope dealer pulled up, I punched him until I couldn't make a fist anymore. I don't know how many Mondays I did that, but I would be willing to bet you my life on this planet that I've done that on a Monday, because I've done it so many times. I mean, this was my existence for 3 decades, right? This day was the start of another week, but it wasn't any different than the day before. And it wasn't going to be any different than the day after. And you know something? I was a believer. I was, which meant that on December 25th, I celebrated the birth of who I believe to be God. But it didn't stop the fact that when the sun came up that morning, I was making that phone call at 8:59, right? Or 7:59. I was the guy in the queue waiting on that because I wanted to be the first dude that got his dope delivered on Christmas Day. And make no mistake, there was a period of time, right, when I worked, like when I was working as a public speaker, or I was, when I was the president of MagTech or whatever, that, I mean, it was the same thing. The only difference was I made those calls a lot less often, right? When they showed up, I bought enough dope that I didn't have to make that call for 6 days or 7 days. But trust and believe, you can be a billionaire. You're going to be sitting in that parking lot waiting, just like the guy that doesn't have a car. is sitting in that parking lot waiting, right? Because nothing matters. And the craziest thing, and all of the dope, all of the people who suffered the same way I did, my fellow parking lot soldiers. How many times did you watch a guy pull in, and over the course of 2 or 3 years, you watch this dude change, right? You're sitting there, and you've been a junkie a hot minute. You've got your routine down, whatever. But you watch the guy pull in the Mercedes Benz to pick up dope, and you're like, "Damn, that dude makes money, right?" He's and you watch that Mercedes Benz one day come in, and there's a window missing, right? It's got some tape over it or something. There's something done to the car that anybody with a Mercedes Benz fixes, right? Instantly, but not this cat. And you watch the people who are showing up in the parking lot with you disintegrate, right? Now that car doesn't show up first thing in the morning with a guy sitting in it with a shirt and a tie on his way to work. Now you may run into that guy at 2:00 in the afternoon as well. And now when you do see him in the morning, he ain't got a shirt and a tie on either. It's amazing. In all honesty, and if you're a filmmaker out there, here's you want to make a film, that's what you do. You set up some cameras in a parking lot where you know that where there's a lot of day-to-day activity. And I promise you, take Dog's Rule with you, take Candy's Life with you, take anybody that's been a user with you, and they'll show you which parking lots are being used, whether they've ever been in them. Because you'll watch a guy drive into that parking lot and he'll have a look on his face and he's looking around for the guy he's delivering his dope to. And you will know instantly. I pass him all the time. I remember as distinctly as I can possibly explain to you, like the back of my hand, the first time in Tucson, where I was in a parking lot at a very, very nice grocery store, a very upscale grocery store, where a guy pulled in, and I said to the person in the car with me, "That's a balloon spitter. That dude right there is spitting balloons. He's selling dope." And they were like, "What makes you think that?" I'm like, "Take my word for it." Right? This dude pulled into the parking lot and he was doing this one, right? And his head's looking around and he's looking for the car that he recognized. He's the dope guy. And the reason I knew was because when I got there, I was walking inside to go get a legitimate prescription from a pharmacy, a antihistamine. And as I was walking to go in, I saw 2 dudes sitting in a car, and their seats are back like this. The one's got his legs on the dashboard, and the driver's going through it. The driver's got his arms forward like this. His head's this way, and he's and I'm looking at the 2 postures, and I was like, if that were me and Jack, right, I would be in the position the driver's in right now, and Jack would have been in the other. We get in parking lots, and he's not going to sleep, but he's got his eyes shut and his head back, and he's just sort of going through it. But I thought to myself, as soon as I saw him, they're not going inside to go shopping, right? They're sitting in the parking lot. I doubt there's somebody inside shopping for them. And these guys look like they're going through it, like they're having a real bad morning. And that's fresh in my head as I watch a guy come in a nondescript 4-door car, right? Because they don't buy anything that sticks out. So they buy Honda Civics, they buy Toyota Camrys, they buy 4-door cars. They like the color gold, right? They like the color white. They like colors that there's a bunch of out there that they think blend in. They don't have license plates. If they get a license plate that's easy as crap to remember, they will get a different one. I'm not kidding. Like if they just happen to get one from the government that says HHH for the first 3 letters, they will get another license plate. They want everything to look like just the next one. And over the course of doing dope for my entire life, I got to know these people really, really well. I got to know these people really, really well. Like I used to test dope for them. You know, I went on vacation with one of these dope dealers. I mean, not like we were hanging out and kicking it, but I went to test dope for him and had to get on an airplane to do it. But I got to know these cats, at least some of them. And with almost no exception, this is a business to them in a way that they honestly can't be bothered at any level with whether or not you're alive or dead, or whether you're sick or healthy, or any of those things. Unless, of course, you're willing to perform a sex act on them, or you can hurt them. Those are the two things that will just about guarantee you that no matter whether you got money or not, you're getting enough dope to at least get well. and they're always quite willing and quite able to take advantage of a woman or a guy, for that kind of thing. It's depressing to watch what drugs does to an individual, but there is nothing on planet Earth. Oh, nice. There's really nothing on planet Earth worse than watching people disintegrate. And you see it with the housewife who shows up in a minivan looking perfect, and you see her running on the car, come out 5 minutes later and go do her thing. Within 2 hours, within 2 years rather, she's going and you're waiting in the same parking lots, and she looks like she's on heroin. And you get the eyes start getting sunk in. And when she goes and jumps in the car to pick up dope, it takes 15 minutes. And it's a depressing existence if you're sitting in a parking lot today, right? And you're watching me or you're listening to me. For the love of God, this is not how you have to live. You know the craziest thing, people? The craziest thing? I was addicted to sitting in parking lots. I was. It was as much a part of it as anything else. The ritual and all of it. The sitting there going, is that the car? That's it, right? No. That one's got rims, dude. Cars don't have rims. But this is all of it. I honestly, this was a part of who I was. I was addicted to every aspect of it. And it was a case study. The reason that, we talk about things here differently than other places is because it was a case study by accident. When they talk about a malfunctioning reward center of the brain, okay, if you've not done dope, if you've not been, and by dope, I'm talking about booze, I'm talking about anything, but anything that owns you, right? People go up, I drank, dude, I drank, everybody drinks, they drinks. No, you haven't, right? Do you have a bottle hidden in your house so that you can go pull off of it and get 4 or 5 shots of alcohol in you whenever you need it? Have you got five or six of those bottles hidden around the house? Okay, then we're talking about the same thing. You're not waiting in parking lots for people to show up. You've got your own set of rituals, like waiting for the liquor store to open, right? Or rotating 6 liquor stores because you don't want the person behind the counter to think you're an alcoholic, right? Like I have a friend who I have worked with on the lifeboat. She's been sober now for almost a year and a half. But she said that was her biggest struggle. Was she was so afraid. She had to buy her liquor at a state liquor store, right? She lives in Utah. But her biggest fear was that somebody from the church was going to spot her in the process of doing this. And so she would drive to a liquor store that was in a different town. Still within Salt Lake, but in a different, instead of going to Sandy, she'll leave Holiday and go to Sandy or whatever, so that they're not in the same neighborhood. God forbid they're going to run into somebody they know. And my argument was always, well, wouldn't that person have been at the liquor store too? Right? Couldn't you have given them the hand? We're both here, right? You don't tell anybody, I don't tell anybody kind of thing. Jennifer Reed says, my bathroom sink behind the towels, perfectly folded, yet the rest of the house is a mess. Go figure. I thought I was so smart. Yeah, it's not funny, but I was married to an alcoholic for a long time. My first wife, I've told the story. I put her to bed 7 years. I didn't miss a day. I put her to bed for 7 years. And by that, I mean, I picked her up off the toilet after she had fallen asleep there and put her in bed and did that for 7 years. God bless her, right? She's been sober longer than I have, and is fantastic in life. She's a great mom. She's a good woman. But that was one of the hiding places, Jennifer. And she was not at the time much of a house cleaner. Neither was I, but for the record, I'm not picking on her. But there was always that one. Yep. There was always, towels were a big one in my house. They were always folded very, very nicely when nothing else was, because there was always a couple of pints, tucked in between the towels. And it, you know what, Snot? I'm glad you said this. this is big. It's not says routine is such a great thing for me, but the ritual of having a drink when I got home from work just stinks. Getting past that is tough, but it's worth it. I went through this massively because the ritual of my drug use is probably the most intricate of the drug world. Right, there is a very serious process. Hold on one second. I know people that drive to New Hampshire state line to get their alcohol to avoid being seen around town by people they do. That, because they're not paying taxes in New Hampshire. They're going to the Beverage King right across the border. I used to go to the Beverage King to get booze because you didn't pay any tax. You save a lot of money buying booze in New Hampshire. But a lot of people would go out of their way because they don't want to get caught. It's not the ritual for me. Right? The ritual for me had a kit. Right. I had this really beautiful little kit, and you would unzip this thing and take it out, and you would have to lay out all of the equipment. Right. And I didn't use a spoon that was bent like you see in the movies, but I traveled with cookers, which look like a bottle cap with a handle on them. They're actually manufactured, but they're little cookers, and that's what they're for. And I had little pre-rolled up balls of cotton and like everything that I needed, Now keep in mind, this was when I was, that goes downhill. You get to a point where you just got a loose syringe in your pocket, and you might have been using that same one for 6 years, right? I mean, by the end, it gets pretty bad. But in the beginning, no, I had my kit, and it was a big deal to lay it out, and the process of fixing, even when I was good at it, was a 5-minute process, right? That's 5 minutes of just really getting ready before you could do what you were going to be doing. By the end, again, when I sat down to cook, I was doing it so fast. My hands were shaking. Like there was nothing to the ritual other than I got to get this stuff into me. And normally what I would do was I would smoke the first $100 worth, because if not, my hand would be doing this, which makes trying to get a needle into you a bit of a difficult thing, right? With any kind of accuracy, or like a lot of addicts do, you just take the first one and go and just stick it in. Right, you're not looking for a vein or doing anything else. They call it skin popping or muscling, and you just stick it in there and go. Wait about 10 minutes, and the shakes go away, and then you're like, "Now I'm going to try to feel it. I'm going to try to get one into a vein so that I can actually feel some effect out of it. Because if not, there's not going to be an effect." This ritual had to be replaced. You understand? There's no just getting rid of it. There's no eliminating that from your life. I had to replace it with other things, right? So I have rituals in my life now. I've got mad rituals in my life now. Like the hardest thing now for me, really, that's going to be hard. I'm going to have to start taking, what do they call it? Decaffeinated coffee, because a huge part of my day is that standing at that machine, right? And it's a Keurig, right? But that's a ritual for me now. And it's, when you come home from work, have a damn ritual, right? Have one. Have a ritual. Because what that ritual said to you, Snot, was my day is over, right? The shit's behind me. All the good stuff's about to happen, right? And that's what that ritual meant. Oh, you're kicking off the day. The day sucked. That work's over. I don't have to think about that anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. It's over, right? Okay, we need a new ritual. We need a new ritual. Don't eliminate that. Replace it. And I know you, right? Fortunately, I happen to know you. You are a routine person, right? So get a new routine. When you go in, there needs to be a ritual that you do every single time you come home. And that ritual needs to signify that your day is over and it sucks, right? And now, wow, this is really cool. Now I immediately make a cup of tea when I get home. I love it. There you go, Snot. Make a cup of tea when you get home. And I would go out of my way to find a tea that actually does what it says it does on the label. Like sleepy time, I would find some tea that knocked me out. I would find some tea that knocked me out so that there is an actual cause and effect to the ritual. Although I promise you, from a guy that has stuck water in his veins 1,000 times, sometimes people, the ritual is such an important part of it. Like if you know a drug addict, like my parking lot surfers that were just talking to me, right? They have fixed water. They have shot stuff with no dope in it. And you go, no, there's no way they do that. And I don't mean you go over to the faucet, you draw water and you draw it up. What I mean is they take spoons that they've used 100 times, or they take cottons and they go like this and mash the back, and they get this water that might have a tinge of yellow to it, enough to look like your fifth beer kind of urination, right? But just enough of a color to it that person can say, maybe there's something in there. But it isn't even really maybe about the something in there. It's about the ritual. It's about that when that needle breaks your skin, that your body's going to release all those endorphins. I said earlier, I didn't realize at the time, but it was a case study. And you hear somebody say, a malfunctioning reward center. That doesn't mean something to somebody that doesn't mean something to. But to somebody that's had dope put in their hand, when they're so sick that they're vomiting, right? Like you're in the car like this, literally, right? Snot's running down your face, you're vomiting. You may or may not have defecated, right? Because that's how sick you get. You can't control your bowels. You can't do anything. You're waiting on that person to show up, knowing that they're lucky you're not going to fix in their car, right? Much less get into yours, right? I'm not going home. I'm fixing right where I'm sitting. I got to get right. And the amazing thing is I'm going to get right in. That's how fast I'm going to go from that to, oh, maybe we should get breakfast or do something else. But I don't have to do it. The craziest thing. And we all know it. Everybody knows it. If you're an addict, you have experienced this. But you get in the car and you want to kill the guy, but all of a sudden there's this wave of relief that he's there. So you don't even yell. You might give it the, man, you're running a little late, aren't you? Yeah, I'll give you a couple for being late or whatever. And then he hands you the stuff and it gets in your hand. And when it's in your hand, your brain releases all of those chemicals the guy was talking about last night when he held his granddaughter for the first time, right? All of those chemicals get released every time you get that release. So the shaking and the feeling like your stomach tightens up, you no longer feel like you're going to vomit or lose it. And you get in the car and I would look at Jack and he'd go, you want to do this here or go to your place? And I'd be like, roll, get there fast. All of a sudden, the shakes that I needed all of a sudden, well, my brain took over. Well, guess what? My brain can still do that. To this day, my brain can still do that. I don't need the dope. You're listening to me going, he's so full of shit. And I don't blame you. I would say the same thing I would have 8 years ago. But I'm telling you, your mind is capable of that without the dope. You've proven it. For real. What would happen if you threw the dope out the window on the way home? Well, sure as hell, you'd get dope sick again, wouldn't you? Right? Okay. But you did get the relief, didn't you? So we know that's real. So we know a malfunctioning reward center got you addicted. Okay. Well, then a malfunctioning reward center can get you clean. You can get your brain to start rewarding you for anything. I promise you, if you get good at this process, you can get your brain to give you those chemicals almost on demand. Take my brother, for instance, right? My brother is not your average walking around guy. Number one, my brother was an opiate addict, right? He has been addicted to opiates. So he's been down that road. He also has had them go into his back, remove a vertebrae, put in a dead man's vertebrae, run two metal rods down each side of his back, which is why he does the Batman thing. You don't see Johnny doing this as much as the next guy. He's gone to have surgery to get the nerves killed and all that. Nothing worked. And then Johnny got a hold of the reward center of his brain and decided he was going to run it. And now he takes care of pain control. He takes care of emotional stability, right? His antidepressants, everything he does is ritual. Everything. Oh, there's some burn involved too, right? And he's into the burn. He digs it. But there are a legion of people today who are using capsaicin as a way to not get high. There are a legion of people today who are using capsaicin as a way to not feel pain. Unbelievable numbers of people, right? Millions, literally. However, that's one method. There are people today that are going to go run, and they're not going to run for any other reason than they want a buzz, and they're going to get it. They're going to get it. They're going to get several. They're going to get one while they're doing it. They're going to get one after, and their body rewards you. I don't know if you realize that, But one of the few things where your body will hook you up all day is good exercise. You really work out, your body will keep pumping you stuff all day long, right? Walking's fantastic. Fantastic. Where's Alan Ballantyne? Alan, you know what? He's walking right now hearing this, but he's hearing it on a replay. But I don't want to be the first one to tell you, right? Life-changing. Life-changing. And if I may suggest, not all of us live in a place where you can go for a walk, in the Shire, right? Not all of you live in the country and can look like you live where the hobbits live. It would be lovely if we all did, because when you walk through a wooded area, or you walk through, someplace where there's a creek or a pond or anything, and you can see the majesty of, insert whatever you want there. I'm going to go with God. Majesty of creation, the majesty of whatever you want, right? But the beauty and the majesty of the world right there. Try being bummed out as you walk by that at 4 miles an hour, which is about what you'd be walking at. You can't, right? Automatic negative thoughts, haven't got any time. It's hard to be an automatic negative thought when you're like, ooh, cool, look, bird tree. Hey, check that out. Was that a dog? What just went by? Oh, ooh, Porsche 959, right? 1 of 50. All of these things start happening. This is why I say to people, get the hell out of the room you're in, right? Snot says. Take advantage of your public library and get a DVD for free that requires no equipment if you can't go outside. Beautiful. And you absolutely can walk on a treadmill. It's good for you, right? It is. You only got to walk about 26 minutes a day, too. That's what they say, 26 minutes. I don't know where the hell I came up with that, right? I'll say 25. I feel stupid saying 26. How about just under a half an hour a day? And the reason they say that is because if you walk more than that, you may start to wear and tear on the body. But they're saying up to that point, it's all benefit. There's no downside. There's no, right? There's nothing bad of any kind to walking for 30 minutes a day. Change your freaking life. It will change your life. Just like making your bed will. Think I'm lying? It's Monday morning. Don't have it be just another effing Monday, because just another freaking Monday means kick the sheets to the bottom of the bed. Okay? Get up, go crawl through your routine. Go to the parking lot of your life. I don't know what that parking lot is for you, but it doesn't much freaking matter, does it? Because we all got our parking lots, right? I see the queen of the normies is here with us today. It's never waited in the parking lot, but the queen of the normie has parking lots we couldn't understand, right? Truthfully, there are people who will understand her parking lots. You understand what I'm saying? She was very open and honest, came here and beautiful interview. You should go and see it. But she had an eating disorder. And that was something that she needed to obviously work through and overcome. And I remember the first time we talked and I explained it. And I said, that was a symptom of a problem that you had. Heroin was a symptom of a problem that I had. Right? You're not really a normie. You're what you did to get your brain to release chemicals was slightly different than what I was doing to get my brain to release chemicals. But we're all getting our brain to release chemicals. It's all everybody's doing. That's the routine. This Monday, start the process of taking over, right? The reward center of your brain. Yesterday, I went to a cat cafe. Okay. I spent hours in this building with like 38 cats or 36 cats or something like that. I went around and just played with them. Sat on the floor, sat back on couches where cats crawl on you and fall asleep in your lap. And I promise you, I walked out of that building different than I walked into that building. Completely. No different than if I had gone to see the Dope Man. I walked out of there with a completely different outlook, with a completely different feeling, with a completely different everything. For real. Cats. Absolutely blew my mind. How life-changing that visit to that was. Every one of those cats is available for adoption. Yep. And as you go through, you go to their app on your phone and you pick it up and you're like, oh, that's Lizzie. Right. So you go up and you say the cat's name and you buy a little bag of cat treats. So as you go around, the cats are looking to see if you're one of the people that bought the little blue bags because they know the cat treats are coming. They're all rescue cats and they're all up for adoption. And some in there are in the process of being treated. And animal assisted intervention, right? If you don't think there is a really, really good reason that there is a cat in a basket at the end of this, aside from the fact that I'm really fond of the damn cat, there are very few things on planet Earth better for people in recovery than being around animals. And here's the deal. If it's your second day of recovery, find a place like the El Jefe Cat Cafe, because you don't need the responsibility right now taking care of anything other than you. Believe that, right? But go pet a friend's cat. Go over and hang out with someone that's got a dog. Get out of your routine. Get out of the parking lot routine and start a new one, right? We're not good at quitting anything. As human beings, we suck at it. We're excellent at replacing. Like we can pick up a habit like that. We're just not really good at dropping them. We're actually built as humans to develop habits. 85% of what we do daily, according to scientists, is habitual. 85%, right? So there's only 15% of what you're doing every single day that isn't on autopilot anyway, right? Change your autopilot. If 85% of what you're doing is autopilot, that means that you're doing your dope on autopilot. You're buying your dope on autopilot. You're stealing on autopilot. You understand? All of the things that you're doing that are part of this, they're all on autopilot. Snotface says, my animals save me from being too stupid. I know they rely on me, so they tend to be a great safety net in some ways. They keep me accountable. That's good. That really is. And I think it's essential to have things that count on you. I think that's awesome. Puffinator works with 30 puppies a day. Oh man, that's got to be nice. But I also had 5 cats at one time while a raging 4 cats while a raging heroin addict. And I couldn't take care of them. I couldn't take care of me. I couldn't take care of my kid. I had no right having 4 cats. I couldn't take care of me at all. And I didn't get them while I was addicted, right? I got them I take that back. I did get them while I was addicted, but I got them while I was addicted and a pocket full of money, right? At that point in my life, drug addiction, I didn't realize was going to cost me everything. I just thought it was a money thing. And I didn't even think it was all that much money, It might be, I might have been spending 30 or 40 bucks a day back then or something, Sorry. Look at the good old days. Heaven and hell working with puppies. I believe that. Good morning, Lindsay Baker. Good afternoon, I guess, where you're at. It's I have a registered community cat colony. We used to have 60 cats. Wow. That is a lot. Noise Opera, good to see you. Martha Simmons, I love that. I really do. Kirsty, good to see you. See who else? I haven't said hi to anybody. Moni, 69. Ian DeVoe. Henny, good to see you, Henny. Annette, nice to see you. Taking care of yourself after addiction isn't selfish. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's self-love. And I'll tell you what, anybody else that you love, right? It's also a gift to them. If you're taking care of yourself, what it does for the people around you is incredible. I promise you they appreciate it. Trust me, because I spent my entire life living like an idiot, right? Until just recently. But the people in my life that put up with me for all of those years probably enjoy my sobriety more than I do. I love a new cat. Barrister, go get one. There is a cat right now somewhere in your town that needs you. Barrister, go get you a cat right now. I had 12 cats once while in active addiction. It was crazy. Oh my God, Cat. That is tough. You know what? It doesn't surprise me though at all. Addicts have the biggest hearts in the whole world. I don't know that science has figured it out yet, right? But I'm telling you from this seat, there's a correlation between addiction and the size of a person's heart. And I mean that not in terms of physical size, right? But the love that I've experienced through this process, the people that I've met, what I have come to realize more than anything else is that, truthfully and honestly, addicts are just the kindest and sweetest people in the world. And those who get out, I would rather spend time with recovered addicts than anybody in the world. I really would. We all get each other's jokes, right? We're not offended. The things, that people get offended by things that, as an addict, right? Like if two addicts are together, right? You see somebody and they get offended, and the addicts look at each other and go, "I'd be kidding. This bummed you out? Like this was worth being upset about?" When you say something like that, Johnny, doesn't necessarily mean we're anywhere near the same page, brother. Anywhere near the same page.
I hear a question: can an addict care about his friend?
Thank you. The question was, can an addict care about his friend? Yeah, an addict can care about his friend. Absolutely, he can. Now, can you trust them? I don't know. I could trust Jack. He wouldn't steal from me. I could take heroin, put it on the table, and go to the bathroom. And I did. Never worried about it. But I didn't trust anybody else. I didn't. I knew I could trust him. My gut would tell me that as an addict, you probably know that there are addict friends you got that you can't trust. And there's probably at least one you can. I would have trusted Jack with anything. Honestly, there's nothing I wouldn't have trusted him with. He's an idiot. And if he's listening, he knows why I say that. I mean, the guy's an idiot, but I trust him 100%. I do. He would never, ever try to get over on me. He wouldn't, not in any way. It's just not who he is. But that doesn't mean he's still on morphine per his doctor. Yeah, absolutely. We got to do this, right, too. Let me do this one again. And we got to do this one a lot, right? But there's a difference between dependent and addicted. And this is hard to understand. But what it comes down to is this: that malfunctioning reward center. So when I get that dope in my hand and the brain gives me all of those chemicals like a birth of a child, right? The dependent person doesn't get that. I do, right? And what that means is that my withdrawal and your withdrawal, the dependent person and the addict are going to withdraw the exact same way. It's going to suck. They're both going to hate it. But the second it's over, the person who was dependent is going to go, "Ooh, I'm never doing that again. Holy hell. I'm not taking aspirin," right? Don't write me a prescription for Vicodin. Trust me, I can get through this. I'm never doing this again. And the addict says, "I'm going to go get high." That's the difference, right? You can be dependent. Dependent means that your friend has to have that. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a drug addict. It means they're dependent on that drug. Morphine is a drug you will become dependent on in 7 to 9 days for the average person. If you take it 7 to 9 days, right, in the right quantity, you're going to develop an addiction to it, a dependency to it, right? Now, there are people who can go 2-3 weeks taking it without. Some people can go a month. It is unique. Now, once you've been an addict, it would take me 3 days. 3 days. I could do morphine on Monday. I could do morphine on Tuesday. I would not need it on Wednesday. If I did morphine on Wednesday, I would need it on Thursday. No joke. It would take me 3 days. I've done this. I've done it 1,000 times. It takes me 3 days. He still acts like he did when I kept taking him to rehab. If he is getting, if the behavior that he is exhibiting is the behavior of a drug addict, then the fact that a doctor is writing up a prescription for morphine just means that he's got him a nice hookup. He's probably also scoring on the street. I used to get medicine from a pain doctor and then go right to the street to sell it so that I could buy street dope. because street dope is way more fun to get high on. Are hydrocodone and trazodone, like that dependency develops that quickly? Hydrocodone is a very, I knew what you meant. I knew you meant tramadol. Hydrocodone is a very low dose drug, right? As far as opiates go, hydrocodone is kind of the bottom of the food chain. That does not mean you cannot get addicted to it. I promise you, it's heroin. It's just watered down heroin, right? Now you go up the food chain and you get to dilaudid, and it's heroin, and it ain't watered down. Like I promise you, the difference between dilaudid and heroin is the initial feeling of the buzz, right? Is very uniquely different. But other than that, they are the exact same thing. I mean, for real, they are kissing cousins, and you will never meet a heroin addict that would turn down dilaudid. They go, oh yeah, no, great, no problem. But you will meet heroin addicts that would say, no, I don't want hydrocodone. As an example, no exaggeration, I'm not trying to be cool or anything else. I bought 4,000 of those because I got a ridiculously good deal on them. And I bought 4,000 hydrocodone under the name Loratab, but it's the same thing, right? I bought Loratab 10s, and I was eating 15 of them at a time, chewing them up. That was in the morning, I would take 15 and chew them up. And I'm not a drinker, but I would do one shot of booze because it would kick the dope in way more expensive. It would make it way cheaper by throwing one shot of alcohol on top of it. But that's what it would take me to get well. So while it is an addicting drug, and it is an addicting drug, hydrocodone is used for most dental pain, yes, but it's also used for knee surgery, right? Loratab is what they're going to write you for a prescription as a painkiller for a normal person, right? That is a normal person painkiller. Like if you go and you hurt yourself and you actually need pain, Vicodin is the exact same thing as hydrocodone. It's a brand name of hydrocodone. Vicodin happens to have acetaminophen in it. There is something called vicoprofen, right, which is the same thing, except instead of acetaminophen, it has ibuprofen. The acetaminophen acts as an anti-inflammatory because inflammation causes pain. So they put an anti-inflammatory in every painkiller until you get to the top of the food chain. When you get to the very top of the food chain, they know they're giving this to you every day. They can't afford to give you an anti-inflammatory every day. It's bad for your liver, right? Real bad for your liver. Believe it or not, hydrocodone had me for 27 years, says Zelda. Well, there's your answer, people, right? There's your answer. There's no real, Kat says there's no real heroin anymore. The trank, dope and fentanyl crap has taken over. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. There really is. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. I'm going to get emails today from people that say, I do heroin every day. If you live on a border town, you're probably doing heroin, honestly. Jennifer Reed says she's had an extreme allergy to any and all opiates. Tramadol, yeah, was not the same. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Took the dog to a vet, 30, dentist, another 30-day supply. Yeah. And then you find yourself online trying to buy it. Tramadol is a different drug, different family altogether. It's not. The crazy thing is there are drugs out there that will act on the mu receptor, even though they're not opiates, Jennifer. So even though you are allergic to them, yeah, you could still get addicted to it the same way, even without ever taking it, right? Because if you're tickling the mu receptor, however you're tickling it, it's the same thing. I don't like tramadol either at all. Not a fan. Not a fan. You can get it in federal prison. You can get a doctor to give it to you. Really, really easy. Inside, they call them brown bombers. That's what they're referred to inside of prison. That's brown bombers. And the addicts save them up for when there's no dope around, and they eat 15, 20 at a time. Question. Do you ever get urges? Oh my God, yes. Or are you triggered? Not sure what the word is for a longing or an addict as a drug craving when you talk about it every day. I don't crave it from talking about it, Bo, at all. I shouldn't say that. Talking about it doesn't cause me to want to use, but I have cravings. I absolutely have cravings. I talk about them the second I get them. That's it. It's got my number one rule in life. Like if I have a day, go back and just start scrolling through the 1,000 or whatever. You'll come across titles like "I want to get high today," right? I will. There are titles of videos that I've done like "Today's a day I'd like to do heroin," or "I really want to get high," or "Boy, today's one of those days, peeps." So yeah, no, I absolutely has it. He has a hookup. Don't trust him. I'm sorry. If he's getting dope from a doctor and he's getting dope from the street, no, I wouldn't trust him. I mean, I could love him, but I wouldn't leave him alone around anything I had that was valuable. You know? Oh no, trust me. EIG, there is a very good chance he's slinging the morphine, although morphine's an excellent drug from a junkie standpoint. Okay. And I'm saying junkie, I call him myself. I would never turn down morphine. Right. So there's a good chance if they're giving him other stuff, he's probably slinging it to buy other things on the street. Like if they write him a prescription for methadone, he's going to sell it. Right. If they write him a prescription for Neuron or anything like that, he's going to probably get rid of it. Morphine is so close to heroin. Heroin is diacetylmorphine, right? There's one molecule difference between morphine and heroin. The Bayer company figured out that if you added one acetyl molecule, that the drug could pass the blood-brain barrier and get to the mu receptors that are in the brain, right? It could do some serious work really quickly. So if you've ever been in a hospital and they gave you that shot for pain that they put right into the vein and you go, oh my God, okay, that's morphine, right? The difference between that and heroin is only about 4 seconds, right? There's about a 4-second difference. When you do heroin, it is so much quicker. 4 seconds doesn't sound like a long time to a heroin addict. That's 3 years. That jump from heroin, from morphine to heroin made the drug so much more addicting. That little split second difference of being able to pass the blood-brain barrier so much quicker. But other than that, and in order to remove anything out of your body, you're going to turn it into morphine anyway. So if you take hydromorphone into your body can't process that out. So it reassembles it into morphine, and then your liver gets rid of it. Everything gets reassembled into morphine, and then your liver gets rid of it. Bizarre, right? But that's what happens. So that's why you go, I failed a drug test. You hear it every day in prison. I failed a drug test for morphine, like I was doing morphine. No, you were doing heroin, but you failed for morphine because they fixed it, right? Med packs still have morphine shots. All med packs still have morphine shots. Yeah, morphine is a great painkiller. It's an excellent painkiller. It's God's painkiller. I'm not being facetious, right? That's the sap of a poppy. It is an opiate. It is not an opioid, right? It is not made in a lab. It is a naturally occurring, right? It was not synthetically engineered. It was made from a poppy. Tommy, do you think there could be such a thing as an addict that's never used drugs? Absolutely. Absolutely, Miss Sunrise. Not only is it a thing, you're going to see 100 of them today in your life walking around. You're going to see them everywhere. Not every drug addict uses. The fact that you're a drug addict, right? The fact that that is in you is a losing lottery ticket. The fact that you never ever went to buy it doesn't mean, you understand what I'm saying? The person, just because you've never tried heroin doesn't mean you're not a heroin addict. You could be a drug addict waiting to happen, but never ever tried it. Your husband absolutely could be a drug addict who's never used drugs. Absolutely. It is, and that's right. It's a personality trait. It's also a genetic trait. This is a predetermined thing inside of a human being. I use my daughter as the example all the time. Her mom is an alcoholic. Her grandfather was an alcoholic. Her mom was addicted to heroin as well. And I'm addicted to heroin, right? And every other drug in the world I abused. My daughter does not have a chance. She's not a drug addict. There's no chance. She's not. No chance. right? And then she was raised by 3 drug addicts, right? Nature, nurture, any way you want to shake it. This girl doesn't have a chance, but she doesn't use. So if she never uses, who cares? Does that mean she's not a drug addict? No, I assure you she's a drug addict. She just never used, so it's never going to be an issue. Now, on the bright side, she's a grown woman, right? She's 19. She's going to be 20 here shortly. She's a grown woman and very, very intelligent and a great communicator, and she knows she's a drug addict, right? I mean, her mom had this conversation with her long before me, and I had it with her. MDMA, is it the same thing as ecstasy? MDMA is methyl dioxymethamphetamine. In theory, ecstasy should be MDMA. It isn't very often anymore MDMA, but it should be. MDMA is ecstasy. Now, since there's so little of it around, that the stuff that is real, air quotes, real, they've taken to calling Molly. I'm not exactly sure why, but I've only tried Molly once in my life. According to the person that gave it to me, it was Molly. If in fact that was Molly, it assuredly was not ecstasy. The stuff that they sold when it was legal, I've not seen since a long time ago. Nothing like it. If I did, I probably would do it occasionally. I was a big fan of that substance, and I think it has great uses, medicinal uses. I believe that, but I don't think it's around anymore. Sherry Rook says, well, I was having migraines in 2000, and my doctor gave me the Duragesic fentanyl patch. I had no clue what was about to become of the next 20 years of my life. Did you find yourself cutting those into pieces and chewing on them like gum, Sherry? Because that's what happens to most people who end up on the Duragesic. I have done a lot of patches chewing on them. I used to do that a lot. Annette says, I was an alcoholic before I was born, but wasn't addicted till I took my first drink. Let the truth be known. That's it. That's it. That's it. It's perfect, Annette. That's perfect. And of course, I didn't put up hers. I put up the wrong one because everything is going so fast. So fast. I've been on antidepressants for decades. Prozac, Buspar. Now it is metrazapine and others. I think my mind is just the way it is. Therapy, journaling, taking walks helps. Well, all of our minds are how they are. Of the drugs that you just mentioned, I am not a big fan of Prozac. And Buspar, I have done. I was prescribed Buspar. Buspar is abused in prison, believe it or not. That is a very abused drug in prison. People snort it. It may be the most uncomfortable buzz in the world. I snorted it. I first got there. I walked in and a cellmate I had was doing a line. And I said, what is that? He said, Buspar, you want one? I said, sure. Didn't do that again. It was a very, very unpleasant buzz. And his brother was an addict before he passed. Miss Sunrise Dawn says, that's what I thought, but she was talking about the question concerning the addiction. That's what I thought, but I wanted your thoughts on it. His brother was an addict before he passed from cancer and before his grown nephew passed. I think he might have been. It does tend to run in families. Before anybody gives me hell about Prozac, it's working for you. Fantastic. I didn't like it. Didn't work for me at all. And look at the ingredients of that. I seriously, if it were me, I would, before I take anything, I read the ingredients and just get a look at what's in them, because the amount of fluoride that is in Prozac is terrifying. 40% of that drug, if not really close. If I'm wrong on that number, I'm not wrong by much. 40% of Prozac is fluoride, and I think that that's frightening, right? Read the effects of what fluoride does to people. It's, hi Kim, replay crew. Well, we ran a little late, people. I apologize. I don't like going too much over because we're into that band of area where we don't much get pushed. This right here is a cat in a basket. You see that look on her face? She hears that noise and thinks it might mean food. She's wrong though. All right, we'll see you on the next one, people. I'm probably going to be doing a in-between show today. Annette, I'm going to leave you with Annette's final thought because I think that's a pretty good one. Life without drugs is worth living. Boy, oh boy, if that ain't a mantra. Huh? Life without drugs is living. Have a great day, everybody.